in the weather because Kyle Shanahan has struggled in rain games, which is kind of hilarious because I feel like the way that most teams at rain games is the run game, and that's such a strength. That's always been such a strength under this regime. So it is kind of interesting. I think if the 49ers run game, if they did have to just run Christian McCaffrey and even Jordan Mason now, um, I do think offensively going against even Deshaun Watson, if he is playing, hasn't been nearly the player that he was at his height. So I would still say that the 49ers would have the advantage by a lot. I just maybe wouldn't be like a 30-point game if you're just running it every single play if it is pouring down rain. But I'm interested in that. You talked about you do think that this Browns defense is maybe more people are saying last week that the Dallas Cowboys were going to be a real test. Maybe the Browns as a whole won't be a real test because of their offensive struggles and um, quarterback question marks right now. But do you think that the 49ers offense, with all their success, I think it was 9 straight games that they've scored 30 or more points. I mean, the Purdy IU connection has been so special. Christian McCaffrey on another level, even when the Dallas Cowboys were able to kind of stall Christian McCaffrey. Then we have Jordan Mason, who's been unbelievable. People put all their efforts into stopping Debo. Then Kittle goes off. The 49ers offense has seemed to have no weaknesses. Do you think going into this game that maybe there will be um, not like that the Browns could win, but can you see that the 49ers looking maybe less smooth? Because I feel like they just seem so dominant. Do you think that that could be a possibility?
No, yeah, I think there's always a possibility for anything like that to happen, right? So if you look at the Cleveland Browns, I think their defensive line has been phenomenal against the run. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they're the best run defense, allowing teams around 60 yards a game, maybe a little bit less. So their success rate against the run is very high. Now, what does that force you to do if you're unable to run the ball with Christian McCaffrey or Jordan Mason? You have to become a drop back team. Now, you don't want to get into a throwing game against this defense. They have very good corners and a very good defensive line. They got Myles Garrett, Zadarius Smith. Their corners are a lot better than any team we've played. They got Denzel Ward and Greg Newsome. But then their third corner is Martin Emerson, a player I wanted the Niners to draft last year. He's been phenomenal his first 2 years in the season. This season, he's been phenomenal in coverage. So they match up well with the 49ers. Now, their safeties, you got Juan Thornhill, and you also got Grant Delpit, players that I don't necessarily think they could cover Kittle. So that's the advantage. Their linebackers and their safeties are a little bit weaker. But that defense is a very, very solid defense. When you have a defensive line, he's naming off their player like Myles Garrett, Dalvin Tomlinson. They got your Jordan Elliott, not the 49ers Jordan Elliott, but they got the Browns version of Jordan Elliott. And then Zadarius Smith. So and then when the rotation, it's a solid rotation as well. You got Maurice Hurst, who used to be a 49er. They got Shelby Harris, a good veteran. So the rotation is there for their defensive line. It's just a matter of do they disguise looks that Kyle isn't comfortable with. And the thing is, I think right now it's kind of hard to put the 49ers offense in a bind. And the reason is exactly if we look at what Dallas did, right? Their number one goal, take away CMC. That was their number one goal. Number two goal, take away Brandon Ayuk. Now, what does that do? If your eyes are on CMC and BA, Kittle's running wide ass open. And it's not even fair with how many weapons the 49ers have to, okay, you want to take away that? Well, I'm just gonna go, I'm gonna do this all game and you're not gonna beat me. So I think it's gonna be fun to watch the 49ers go up against a defense that can go man to man. I think Dallas Cowboys weren't a team that could go man to man. Their safeties didn't match up. So you could actually go man to man on the outside with Brandon Ayuk and Debo Samuel, and you could kind of bracket coverage George Kittle. So you could do that because you have the corners to do it and you have the safeties to bracket Debo. So in the run game, it all comes down to, I think, our defensive line versus their defensive line versus our offensive line at the end of the day.
Which is, in my opinion, like if a team is going to slow down the 49ers offense, it would be in the trenches. And I feel like going into the Dallas game, I thought that maybe that would be a bigger challenge for the 49ers offense that it ended up being. I did think that maybe Dallas would cause some chaos in there, and Kyle Shanahan was able to scheme really well against that. I am interested in seeing the Browns go. I mean, with so many amazing D linemen, I know that I thought that the wrinkle, what they did to like kind of neutralize Parsons, is when they put him on Colton McKivitz, they moved both Kyle Juszczyk and George Kittle over to that side, which is why they ended up moving Parsons to Trent Williams, because I feel like they were like, okay, it's either 3 against 1 or one really good guy against one really good guy, which I think Dallas made the wrong decision in hindsight. But Dallas doesn't have as many, in my opinion, the talent discrepancy is a little bit different. The Browns defense they have the best defense in the league right now. Formerly, the Cowboys were up there, but then they did so poorly against the 49ers that the 49ers knocked them down. It'll be kind of interesting to see. Right now the Browns are on top. Will the 49ers end up knocking them down as well? And I think the 49ers defense kind of heard some of the question marks going in to the previous game, and we're talking about how players are taking every game personal. I think this defense wants to show that they are the number one defense in the league, that they are, kind of out for blood. They want to hit you as soon as you get the ball. Like there's no way to go against this defense. They stop the run almost immediately. I saw someone saying, because earlier a big topic for people was talking about sacks, and I saw someone saying that hiccup that Wilkes has been doing is, instead of having like Nick Bosa run straight for the quarterback, they kind of hesitate for a second to make sure it's not a run, or if it is a mobile quarterback, to be able to make sure that they're not like breaking as many for as many yards, because mobile quarterbacks has been something that the 49ers defense has struggled with. And if you look at going against Josh Dobbs in Arizona, and Dak isn't as mobile now, but mobile quarterbacks so far, not that we faced a super mobile one, but we faced quarterbacks that can move, or the 49ers have faced quarterbacks that can move, and they have not, that has not been a challenge for them at all. They've done a really good job at stopping them. I don't know about PJ Walker. I know that a wrinkle that Deshaun Watson used to have was his mobility. Now he's played a lot more poorly recently, and he also didn't practice today, so we don't know if he's going to do it. But how do you think this 49ers defense will face against the Browns offense, if it is, maybe if you want to talk about both, if it's Deshaun Watson and if it's not?
Yeah, of course. So I don't think that Nick Bosa is being asked to do that. The
Okay.
reason is so what happens when you have a mobile quarterback is it freezes you as a defensive lineman. So, for example, when you have a mobile quarterback that can get outside, you kind of have to hesitate and you hold one just a little bit tad where it looks like you're hesitating. And essentially, what that's doing for a quarterback is as soon as you could hold the defensive lineman, now you're able, and then that's why Josh Dobbs got us on two big plays downfield. It held the defense just enough where the defensive line was kind of, oh, dang, is it a run? Is it, so you kind of, it's not necessarily asking the defensive lineman to do that. Now, if Wilkes is doing that, you would normally see more of a design pocket, the way they would the rush would, instead of going in, they're kind of containing. So it's more of a contain the pocket and don't let them get out, and kind of as you're going, so you'd go around and you're kind of squeezing the pocket down to make it uncomfortable, because you got the inside presence of your two defensive tackles pushing forward, so it kind of suffocates the quarterback. So I don't really think Steve Wilkes is asking them to do that. In terms of asking Nick Bosa to hesitate, asking Nick Bosa to ever hesitate is the worst thing you could possibly do, because that's your best player on the defensive line. So I have to go back and look. I'm curious to see who said that, but I'll go back and look. But I don't think Steve Wilkes is asking them to do that. Now, if it's Deshaun Watson hasn't been wanting to run lately. Now he can, and he prefers to. He's more of a. I wouldn't say he's a running quarterback, but he's more of a scrambler. And that's where we've gotten beat in the past. Where we get out of rush lane integrity, and so, for example, the defensive lineman they're supposed to go and rush lanes. Instead of going in your rush lane, you get washed out a little bit to the left or to the right. Now you create an open hole where the quarterback can take off. I don't really think Deshaun Watson is that quarterback to beat us that way. He wants to throw the ball first. But if you give him a lane, he's going to pick up the 10 to 15 yards. He will take it. Now, PJ Walker is the opposite. He wants to run. He's not that great of a quarterback in terms of pocket quarterback. They're gonna, if with PJ Walker, they're gonna get him on the move. They're gonna move the pocket, especially after last week seeing what they did with DTR. They're gonna move the pocket, allow him to get outside the pocket, and allow him to use his legs. When he came over from the XFL, in the XFL, he was a great running quarterback. When you went to I believe the Carolina Panthers, a lot of his stuff was running the ball, throwing it around. He has the capability of throwing deep. In my
What was
opinion,
that one game he did? This is like a tangent, but was it against the Colts where he just like had like one phenomenal game? Do you know what I'm talking about? It was
is
last
it
year.
the is it the
Um,
one where DJ Moore, he threw a
yeah,
dime to
yeah, yeah,
DJ
yeah,
Moore and DJ Moore threw
yeah,
his helmet off? It might have been that game. I believe it was the Colts or the I want to say the Falcons come to mind on that game. I don't know why,
yeah.
but I believe it was the Falcons because it was the division game. DJ Moore
I
throws his
remember
helmet
there was
off.
just like a week where everyone was like, maybe they found something, and then like he came out the next week and it was like, no, that was just one really good game, but
Yeah,
the
so he's
hype was cool
capable.
for yeah, yeah, that's true.
He's
So
capable of
you
doing stuff, but it all just depends on if he started getting loose running the ball, then it could put us in a
yeah.
bind. And once you get put in a bind, you're kind of hesitating. But I don't think that their offense will give us problems, even with Deshaun Watson. The reason is they don't got the running game they have with Nick Chubb. So that injury was huge to that offense. So I think their offense isn't nothing to worry about.
I agree, and I just don't this 49ers team isn't at a place where it's letting other quarterbacks get comfortable. I think,
Hmm.
you talking about them collapsing the pocket, whether or not they're getting sacks or just pressures. You saw Dak making just the most erratic throws, and it's either that you're making the quickest throw possible to not get hit, or you're chucking something up and just saying a prayer, and that's not gonna get you enough points to keep up with this offense.